Good day, students. Welcome to Religious, Moral, and Life Skills Education 2. I hope 2019 we will have some wonderful students who will really put effort in their studies. My name is Martha Nehemiah. I'm your tutor for this subject, which is a first year subject, second semester. Please make sure that you are registered for the right subject, and when you are viewing this recording or this presentation, make sure that it's right for you. Let me welcome you once again in the program and in this particular subject. I will discuss some content with regard to 2719 examination. Remember, as from 2018, all examinations are presented in one presentation. So please don't come back in June, July and ask for another presentation. So underline, this presentation covers all three examinations of 2019, which are April, May examination, August, September examination, and the final one, which is a supplementary, usually takes place in November. So please use this presentation for all three sets of examination. I'm repeating that. I hope by now you have a good understanding of the subject, because the first step that you need to take immediately after registration is for you to study the materials provided, go through the materials, do the activities that are presented there, familiarize yourself very well with the content, with the whole subject content. If you have any question with regard to the subject or to any content or any unit that you think you don't really understand, so you are welcome to contact me via my contact numbers or via my email that you get usually on your assignment letters that you receive. So my name and my contact details are presented there. The study material, the prescribed material for this specific subject is a study guide, which is Religious, Moral, and Life Skills Education 2. I hope you have it in whatever form that you receive, but that is the guide that we are using. I know there are some materials recommended in the text in the study guide for additional readings, but at the moment, usually the study guides cover everything. In case if there is a need, and I think there will be a need of an extra material, I will provide that through the coordinator of this program, and they will put it right on the portal for you to access that material. So I'm saying this because there's a certain content which is not well or which is not covered in the guide, and I want us to have a look at that. So I will talk about that a little bit later. There are some learning activities in the study guide. So please try your best to complete those activities to the best of your ability. And before you look at the answers, there are answers also provided somewhere in the text in the study guide. But I want you first to just do them on your own, to test yourself, to test your understanding, your knowledge of the subject before you look at the answers. Before you study the actual content, first you need to acquaint yourself with the learning outcomes, which are found at the beginning of each and every unit. So familiarize yourself with the whole content, because at times I receive calls from students. I'm not talking about previous students who calls you and say, I have seen in the presentation or in the assignment, they say question about whatever, a certain topic, but I can't find it in the material. That can't be. So it means most of the topics or all of them are covered in the study guide. So you just have to search your study guide very, very thoroughly before you conduct a tutor asking where is a unit what or where is whatever topic. So all topics are covered in there. Just take time, don't rush things. Start studying as early as possible so that you get, you happen to see all the content very well, because the moment you start rushing over things, then you will miss some topics. I said do all the activities already. I mentioned that. You go back to the answers there just to check how you performed. This is like a self-assessment kind of thing. The study guide is quite sufficient for your assignment and examinations. But you can also conduct the other readings that are mentioned after the learning outcomes, just for more detailed information. When it comes to the examination, we ask different types of questions, and we use different verbs. You need to familiarize yourself with different verbs, of how people formulate questions. For instance, some verbs that we use are like define a certain term. For example, define the term humanity, or describe Christmas as an event which Christians celebrate every year. Describe what happens there. So you need to familiarize yourself with the verbs. I mentioned define, describe. Other verbs explain, discuss, identify, list, mention. There are quite a lot. So you need to know what is asked on what, what is that specific verb is requiring you to do. So if you are required to define, then you just have to define a certain term and end it there. If it's about explaining, then you have to explain in detail. Now I will discuss some units separately and stress the most important facts, but please make sure that you read the whole guide, the whole curriculum for the examinations. So examinations are not only covering some parts, but you need, as a student, you need to read the whole study guide, master the whole content of this specific subject before you expect yourself to pass the subject. The types of questions that you can get in the examinations are, in some instances, we ask true or false statements, which only counts 1 mark each. So sometimes you find 5 statements there for true or false, which will basically just count 5 marks as well. And then we have other questions which we call another short type question is the definitions, the short descriptions of concepts, etc. So those ones can count 2 marks, 3 marks. It depends on how much is required from you. So make sure not to leave out any unit when you are studying, because for instance, the true or false covers usually a bigger part of the curriculum. So don't expect all 5 or 10 or whatever statements, or true or false statements, to come from one specific unit. So it might cover the whole content just to test your general understanding of this particular subject. So you need to read the whole guide and understand the content very well. Let's go to the units. In Unit 1, these are just some topics that I said, as I said earlier, I want to emphasize on things that you need to pay more attention on, but it's not necessary to say these are the only things that you need to study. You have to study the whole guide, but pay more attention to the following topics as I will go through them now. For instance, in Unit 1, 1.2, ways of showing love, showing others that we love and value them. How do you show other people, whether they are family members, they are friends, they are colleagues, any other person? How do we show them that we really love them and we value them and we appreciate them? Some of the examples are, we need to love one another, you need to forgive one another. You know, when you forgive someone, biblical, it's like you love that person and decide, I want to forgive. You have to accept one another. Don't expect people to be like you, but they will have their own characteristics, their own way of doing things, their own attitudes, their own behaviors, but still we have to accept each other in life. Honor one another, etc. There are quite a lot in the study guide. And on 1.2 again, you need to have to pay more attention to the right love language. What is the love language? What is that language? So you can Google it, you can read in the study guide and find out what are the principles of the right love language. What should you do to show others that you really love them? Because sometimes what we say is not what we do. So uh, some people will say actions speak louder than words. So sometimes you will say, no, I love that person, but your actions towards that person is opposite, or is doing the other way, the other way around. So what you are doing should really correspond to what you are saying. So the love language can be now the language of what you are saying and the action of what you are doing towards that person. 1.5, I'm still in Unit 1. Some of the loving gestures you can make to demonstrate your love, for instance, you have to refrain from criticizing. So you don't. Normally we don't criticize people that we love. You have to try to defend that person, even if it's your spouse or your child, or sometimes you can see this person is wrong and I have to correct him, but you don't necessarily just go and start a negative criticism. You just try to correct the person in the right way, and never ever allow family to put you down or to put your family down. You have to try to uplift your family, support your family, be there for them in thick and through thick and thin, and be available when your family needs you. Those are some of the languages of love. Show that you love your family. You cannot just be talking about I love my family, writing in social media, I love my family and so on, but you have never been there for your family. When there's a gathering, you are always having excuses. When there's a family come together or something, you are the one who is always not there. Apparently because you are busy, you are working, or you are busy, you went out with friends, so put more effort, make time for them, right? 1.6, you need to take note of the different feelings and how to recognize them in others. How do we recognize feelings in other people? I just put few hints on this presentation, but please, this does not mean that this is the only things that you have to study. So, for example, the few answers that I provided there also is just to guide you of what we are talking about. But you have to read more on details from the materials, right? The other important topic is the functions or the typical tasks of a religious leader in the community. What are their functions? What are their responsibilities? What are their tasks of a religious leader in the community? Obviously, they have to preach, and they have to bring the community closer to God. I'm not talking in terms of Christians. What are the other functions? They have to support maybe the vulnerable people like orphans, the widows, and all that. So find out the details of the functions. There are quite a lot of functions and tasks of religious leaders in your guide. And still on the same topic of 1.6, 1.61 is about belief systems. What are the how belief systems can bother with your feelings? So now you have to, what are the belief systems? It's a behavior of what you believe. So our behavior is what we call belief system, because that's what you believe in. If you are behaving in a certain way, it's because you believe that's the right way. So you need to see and hear how this affects how we behave, how it affects your perceptions of how you interpret what you see, what you hear, and what you feel. Remember, you can, for example, you can find a group of people sitting together and you go there and you start chatting to them, just talking, making jokes. But these people might take it different ways. One person will take it genuinely that it was a joke, you were making jokes. The next person will think, I think that was not really a joke. And the third person might even get upset just because of what you have said. So because they believe, they have different beliefs, different belief systems, different way of seeing things, or different way of hearing things or of feeling things. So you need to be careful of that. Um, let's move on to Unit 2. Unit 2 is about the different ceremonies of our lives, and the ceremonies are discussed in depth in this unit. For instance, the first ceremony that I want you to emphasize or to take note of is the ceremony of a funeral when somebody passed away. What are the basic needs, the, the three basic needs fulfilled in a human being by the funeral? Why do we have to do funerals when people pass on? Maybe that's the question to ask. Why? It's because we want to fulfill certain basic needs, such as emotional needs, because funeral always takes place when somebody passed on, and it means we lose that person and we will never see that person again on this human life. So a funeral then allows us to let go of our emotions, because especially Africans will become more emotional when somebody passed on. And we have to face the reality of death, that there's death. We are not here to stay. That's what we believe. That obviously we have to go one by one when our time comes. So then it's very important to emotionally let go, to allow friends and family to share memories of their loved one. Because remember, during funerals and memorial services, people talk more about the deceased. His or her history, what she liked or he liked, what was the type of a person that he or she was, how she assisted, or everything about that person, basically. So then they have to share. People need to share and find their closure. They need to laugh together, they need to cry together, just to let this person go. Socially, a funeral is an event that acknowledges the life of a human being who was once alive. The person was alive and he have done a lot in his lifetime, so we need to come together to share and support each other and celebrate the life. Spiritually, a funeral helps us to realize that material things don't really matter. Spiritually, like, you have to think of, remember, even if for example, when a rich man pass on, or a rich woman, they can leave whatever wealth they had on earth. So material things, for example, houses, lot of money on the bank account, lot of cars, lot of properties, lot of farms, lot of even qualifications, anything that the person owned. So, but you have to leave it. Spiritually, you just go as you came from. As you were born, that's how you live. You leave everything there. You didn't come on earth with any money. You didn't come on earth with any house or so. You just came as an individual. You were born just a single person. So you just live like that as well. So material things doesn't really count in this case. Let's move on. People's attitudes and values in relation to elders in their community. We are still in Unit 2. How people's attitude, how do we behave, how do we value the elders? Do you know what's elders? Elders are those pensioners. For example, people who are very old, people who are old, people in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, up to hundreds of years. Those are the elders, people who are old. In most cases, they can no longer take care of themselves, or they will need support. Even if they can, they will maybe have some limitations. They will need assistance from the young ones, from the youth, from the young generation. So how people attitude affect, or how do they value the elders in communities? Communities, I mean, in your area, in public institutions like hospitals. I can give you one example. One elder person told me that, one day I went in a bank and I really found a very polite, a very helpful young lady. And that lady assisted me so well. And I was like, but was not that her responsibility to assist you well, to attend to you just the same as she or he attend to other clients? And then this elderly said, no, as elderlies, the young generation have no respect for us. So go to the hospitals or any other institution, and you will see how we have been treated. They shout to us. So that attitude, people's attitudes towards elders. Remember, elders are our parents. They are our grandparents. They are our relatives and family members. But still, there's an attitude. So this attitude can go in two ways. They can be a positive attitude of assisting the elders, and a negative attitude. As I said, this elder person was exposed to negative attitude. She used to, the experience that she had before was not a good one. Okay, so use your own experience and observation of how elders are being treated in Namibia, for instance. How elders are being treated in hospitals, in church, at home affairs offices where they go and look for maybe their identities and identity cards and birth certificates and so forth. How they are being treated when they are even getting their pension money. Remember the social grant? We usually call it pension money. That's the informal language now. But it's a social grant that the elderlies are getting in Namibia, like when they turn 60 years and above. They are all entitled to the social grant. Look, observe. If you happen to attend one occasion where they were getting their money, so just go there and observe how the officials, how the community are treating these elderlies, how family members also on a daily basis behave towards the elderlies. How the young generation, do they really have respect for the elders or not? So this is observable, like in the daily life. In the house, you see how the young ones are answering or questioning. And there are a lot of stories also going on through the media when we had elderlies being attacked by their relatives because of money and so forth. I just wanted to explain on that because a lot of students usually struggle to understand what these people's attitude really means. The general community attitude towards the elders who are in need of assistance from us. The Christian view of Sabbath is another topic that you need to take note of. Christians, they respect the Sabbath, but I want you to look at how do they view it. Some view it as a Sunday event, some argue it's a Saturday, so that doesn't matter, but what really happens on the Sabbath day? You need to explain when you get a question like that. Christian view. So you have to tell us when do they celebrate the Sabbath day, what do they do, what they don't do on the Sabbath day. If they go to church, tell us no, usually they attend church, they don't do a lot of work, they don't go to official work or to their normal work, like office work and so forth. It's a resting day according to the Bible and so forth. Let's move to Unit 4. Where the different religious festivals are discussed. How do you understand the event known as a Good Friday? Remember, Good Friday is, in other words, it's a day when Jesus passed on. So it's a public holiday in Namibia. So people don't go to work. It's a religious holiday, but it's a public holiday as well. So you need to read more on the Good Friday, what happened, and why it was pronounced a Good Friday. What are the importance of singing for Christians? Why Christians value singing so much? You know, during weddings, the Christians will sing. During funerals, they will sing. During memorial service, they will sing. During church services, they will sing. So, why do they have a lot of songs? Why do what are the importance of this singing to the Christians? And they have different songs from different books and different materials that they always use. Unit 4.5, what religious observations in an African tradition entails? African religions provide people with a worldview that they can can be thought of as a system of values, their attitudes and beliefs. The indigenous religion provides a system of morality in terms of people have a good moral. Africans, they believe they are brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter whether they know each other or not. The moment you meet somebody and that person needs your help, you just provide that help. You don't even ask, what's your name, where are you from, why are you asking me that question? So if you happen to be in a certain town and you find someone asking you, where is what shop, or where is the hospital here, you just provide assistance, you just assist, you just direct or guide the person, because that is the moral that we were raised with. So that we have to assist each other. So, and we have also to establish what is right from what's wrong. That's why a lot of arguments these days, people are arguing that we lost the way. We cannot really establish what is right and what's wrong anymore. That's why there are a lot of evil things happening. For instance, we have a gender-based violence, which is racing in daily or whatever basis, because some people don't believe that beating or murdering or torturing someone is wrong. So the moral is lost somehow. So what is good and what is bad? What are the good behaviors and what are the inappropriate behaviors in society? For instance, you cannot be in a society in a gathering somewhere and you just start making funny things and people will look at you like, or you just start arguing, or you want to shoot people, or you want to do. So you have to make sure that you adhere to the appropriate behaviors of that event. Study and gather information with regard to the following statement. In traditional African religion, there existed a very strong belief in the supernatural. First, you need to understand what is supernatural. Africans are people who believe in supernatural. You need to now find out, search more, the clear understanding of supernatural. It's associated with kind of, I don't know how should I explain it, but people being more powerful, this thing of ancestral powers and witchcrafts and witch doctors. So those are kind of African beliefs, and that's how it is. But you need to study what is supernatural before you come to the statement. Unit 5, some possible causes and effects for bullying. Bullying, it happens in life, in any setting, or in any kind of a society. For instance, in this case, in this program specifically, bullying is directed to children in schools. What are the possible causes of bullying among learners in primary schools, for instance? What are the effects of bullying or for bullying? Bullying can be caused by things like racial remarks. So when a person making racial remarks towards another person, can be a child also, you are bullying that person. And parents need to assist on solving problems and conflicts. They should not be the one who are, instigating their kids to go and bully others at school or in church or anywhere. But they need to give a good example, to be exemplary. So there are a lot of causes of bullying. In some cases, people can say peer pressure, because they said the child just happened to be associating with wrong children from wrong backgrounds, and then the peer pressure, now they form a gang or something. You know about these kind of things like gangs. For instance, in Windhoek, if I may give an example, in the informal settlements, there are those kind of gangs where those youngsters, like 18 years old and 17s and 20s, grabbing people's items like handbags, cell phones. A gang is like maybe one child went into that gang with a good behaviors, but because of peer pressure from others that let's go and grab, let's go and do this, he followed in, and he became part of the problem. So peer pressure, poverty, because for example at school you find one child come with some nice, very delicious food, another child next, the child sitting next have totally nothing, has no food, nothing, no juice, no fruit, nothing, and then that child, sometimes feel like, okay, I can just pretend to be so powerful and overpower this one so that I can grab the food, something like that. It's bullying, because now the person came with his food, and at the end of the day, he or she is not the one who gonna eat that food. The effects, for instance, long-term bullying can lead to depression and feelings that a person is worthless. So the effects are now on those who were bullied, like on the victims. What are the effects? The person may withdraw, may have that withdrawal attitude or feelings, like even to drop out of school, for instance, or the person will feel like I'm worthless, I'm not worth anything. Why should I do this and that? A lot of depression and stress. You will find, especially in young children, they will even start losing interest in going to school because of fear that they will be bullied again. There are quite a lot just read about them in the study guide. Next, the requirements and characteristics of a good leader. Now, we need to differentiate between a good leader and a religious leader. Don't mix the two. So the religious leader is purely on religious terms or in religious functions. But the good leader, the one that we are discussing now, is just a general leader, a leader in general. What should define a good leader? I put some points there. You can read them for yourself. That they usually know themselves. They are not selfish. They lead by being exemplary. They have good behaviors, good problem-solving skills, and so forth. But remember, there's a difference, and you need to be careful of that difference. When I ask the requirements of a good leader, please don't start telling me functions of a religious leader. You will get a 0 there. Or it's vice versa. If I ask about the functions or the typical duties of a religious leader, don't start and telling me, no, they believe in discipline, they are whatever. So you need to know what fits where and what belongs where. Health society is the next topic. It's easy to live in a health society, and we all really want and dream to live in a health society. But what makes a society healthy? There are quite a number of items. For instance, the economic security. How is the economy? We can all see how the economy is in our country, and as adults we can reflect back and see how our economy was 5 years ago. You can see that the economy security is not the same as it was. Whether it's now good or bad, I will leave that up to you to decide and argue further. Ecological integrity is one item also of a health society, where we have to look at the available natural resources and how do we use those natural resources. I hope you understand what is natural resource. What about the health, the diverse ecology on Earth? How do we reduce waste, and how do we turn waste into beneficial purposes? For example, sometimes you see an empty bottle as a waste, but another person can use it, for another purpose. Maybe to store something in that empty container, which was used and supposed to be thrown away, but for the other person see it as a potential, as something that is valuable to use again. So when we are talking about reduce waste, we have to think of the reuse. How do we reuse things like plastic bags, bottles, whatever other containers? How do we reuse? How do we reduce the waste as well? And so on. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now we turn to Unit 6, where we talk about personal development. I hope you all understand what's personal development. It's about improving yourself, not anybody else. As the term is saying, personal. So personal means yourself. How do you improve your own life? You have, and your life is divided into your mental. How do you think? How do you take decisions? Mentally, are you mentally fit? Are you mentally ready to develop yourself? Emotionally, how do you control your emotions? Spiritually, what do you believe in, and so on. And physically, how do you take care of your physical body? All the areas of personal development aim to improve your mind. You need to improve your mind. You need to think critically. That's why in higher education, we are trying to make sure that you are developed in such a way that you will become an independent person, a person who can think critically, a person who can make a, a, a contribution in the society, a person who can read a certain department, a person who can teach a child, for instance. So you need to improve your mind. You don't need to think as you were thinking 10 years ago. 10 years ago, maybe it was right to, what example should I give you? Maybe 10 years ago, it was right to have a certificate, for instance, as a qualification. But now, currently, you see that I have to think higher. Then you have to see the future, you have to think about the future, that this certificate will no longer serve any purpose, or will not, will not guarantee me a job in future. So I need to continue to start doing a diploma and a degree and so forth. So what you were thinking back 5 years ago might have changed now. So improve your mind, the way you think, the way you take decisions, and your heart as well. How do you accept things? How do you reject things? Our hearts are very important because the emotions comes from your heart. Don't be like an easily convinced person. Someone will come and tell you, no, we are selling what they give me your handbag and so on, and your heart just accept, no, I think it's right, I just have to do. You have to start questioning things when you are developing yourself. Start questioning things, start scrutinizing things and see what is right and what's wrong in your spirit and your body. You need to uplift your body. We have people who have given up on their own bodies. Like, you don't take care of yourself anymore, especially as women, especially the elders. And I know in this program we have quite people of all age. So it's like when you are in the 40s or the 50s and you feel like, why should I bother bathing twice a day? Why should I worry buying clothes every now and then? I can just do it. So you have to take care of your body. From the food that you eat, to the clothes that you put on your body, to everything. Everything counts. So read that, read it very well, and read the contentedness in details as well. It's on 6.2. Let's move on to humanity and its link to value. What is the humanity? So you have to read that. I won't explain it anymore. The benefits for you of forgiving someone or forgiving others. Why do we have to forgive others, by the way? So when you forgive someone, apparently you got a lower blood pressure. You become more healthier because you are no longer thinking about that problem, that argument you had with your aunt or with your cousin or with your sister or brother or your parent or your spouse. So you forgive, and then that's it. You start living in peace. It improves your relationship, and etc., etc. The characteristics of good relationships. Why do we want to have good relationships? So it's very important that you are willing to listen to the other part. You are willing to change, because some people are so resistant to change. You need to be willing to change if you want to move on or to have a good relationship with other people in life. Doesn't matter what type of a relationship it is. 6.8, how much money and career, how your money and career, can play a role in your personal development. We are still talking about personal development. Remember, you are accountable for your own success. So your career, how do you build your career, is up to you. As I said earlier, if you decide I want to study and improve my career, I want to be a CEO one day, then you have to make sure that you have to study up to the postgraduates and so forth. Money, how do you take care of your money? How do you use your money? What role the money plays in your life? You have to read about all those stuff. And study all the rest of the areas that will help you to improve your life. Not only money and career, there are so many things. Remember, with career, you improve your life. For instance, you got a good job as a part of a career, development. And when you get a good job, you improve your life. You start, driving nice cars, living in good properties, owning so many things, associating with people who contribute to your growth, and not just be with useless people who are not, where you are not learning anything. It's a lot. It's quite a lot. Personal development plan. This is specifically a map or a plan of your development journey. How do you want to develop? From where you are right now, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years time? This is about your plan, your personal plan. And I argue, for example, myself, as I'm sitting here, I'm that person who planned my journey of each and specific year on the 1st of January every year. I have to sit, I have to be alone somewhere, and to think critically, what do I want to achieve in that particular year? My personal development is my duty. Don't expect anybody else to do it for you, to think what is right for you, to think what you should do in whatever particular year. It's your own responsibility that you have to sit down and think, and I'm advising you to write it down. Because the moment you write your goals down, you can always go back to what you wrote in January while you are in August and see how many goals you have achieved so far, how many goals you still have to achieve, which one you think you're going to postpone to the following year, and so forth. So goal setting, you have to set your own goals, and you have to make them practical. Don't set unrealistic things of saying I want to be a millionaire by the end of the year, while you know you cannot, you will never be there, or you cannot do that. So set realistic goals. The main principle of effective goal setting, like pinpoint your ultimate goal. You need to have the overall goal of what you want to achieve. For example, if you want to become a teacher, then let's say that's now your overall, your ultimate goal, your main goal. And then you start sharing it with other people. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your colleagues, you know what? Maybe now you are working in a barber shop, or you are working in a restaurant, or in a hair salon, but now start telling your friends, you know what, guys, me, I want to become a teacher. I'll just give myself 5 years or 4 years to study, and soon, and after that, I want to become a teacher. Be careful when you are sharing your goals, because in our society, not everybody will be happy for your achievements. So you need to be careful with whom you are sharing your goals with. And you need to work out what should you do now to achieve that goal. So you cannot just start telling people you want to become a teacher while you are not even enrolling or looking or searching for institution to register. So if that's your goal, to become a teacher, then your next step is to start searching for which institution, what program you want to study. Immediately you register and you study hard. And now your mini goal, you start breaking your goal into smaller goals. Like, okay, this year I want to make sure that I finish my first year of study. And then the following I do my second year. That's now your smaller goal, but your main goal is to become a teacher, to finish a qualification and look for a job. But you have to do it step by step, to study each and every year, etc. Barriers to personal growth. What are the things that are blocking you or preventing you to achieve what you want to achieve in your life? Maybe your goals are not realistic. You set things, as I said, you want to go to have 1 million by end of the year. It's an unrealistic goal to some people. So you are resistant to change. When other people are telling you, let's change, let's go and enroll and study, or let's start a business, you are always negative. You want, I will just live the way I am. I'm fine. So then you will not grow, because you are in a comfort zone. Unit 7 is about children's rights and their responsibility. That's very self-explanatory. You just read through. The basic human rights as well. So it's about what people from around the world do. What are the basic rights? It's like the right to life, freedom from torture, rights to a fair trial, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, etc. The concept of justice and human rights and the different types of justice. You need to study that. Other topics that you need to look at in Unit 7 or to study in Unit 7 are how to teach children to save water. We all know what are the basics of saving water. Close the taps, don't do this, and all that. Don't waste water. You need the way how people use water, not supposed to use water. How you can teach children to say no to avoid improper proposals, activities, and events. We have to protect our children. And most of you read, the media statements and the media information from media, how children got, kidnapped, how children got murdered, and so forth. So you need to teach children how to say no to and to avoid improper proposals. Let's move to Unit 8 quickly, the very last one. And this is a practical unit about the job interview. What is a job interview? What are the dress code guidelines for any interview? How it should look like? Success tips, how to icing your interview, how should you be prepared for the interview? You need to be prepared for the interview. Reasons why marriage often fails and ends in divorce is covered in Unit 8.6. There are some points there, like when lack of intimacy comes in, finance issues, addictions, abuse problems, etc. And what are the possible outcomes of lawlessness? Unit 8.5.10. The consequence of violence against women and children. This is the topic I said is not well covered, but there's a link there. You can copy that link and Google it and search. You will get that document from UNICEF written in 2015 about the prevention of violence against children and women. I will also try my best to provide that document and make sure that it's uploaded on the portal for you to read about violence against women and children, because this topic is not really covered on the study guide, but it's quite very important. The emotional, financial, and practical responsibilities of having a family is very important. You need to read about that. Unit 8.8, the effects of pornography to a child or adolescent when they got directly exposed to such materials. Remember, there are a lot of pornography kind of materials these days shared on social medias, especially through Twitter, through Facebook, and so on. And children, if you are not careful, children can access those type of materials, and they can do quite harm to them. Assertive communication is 8.10. You need to study about that, and the CV, how to put together a very nice or a very good curriculum vitae. So 8.3, and then there we go. In conclusion, I would just emphasize that please study from day one. Don't wait for the examination timetable to come out. Don't wait up until it's too late. So start as early as possible. If you have any question, please contact me on my contact details as they are provided on your assignment letter. Enjoy your study, make the most of it, and I want you all to pass.